This is a video I've been wanting to make because I've been feeling really passionate about this indie action game called Tonin. It's a Metal Gear Rising inspired action game I've been following on Twitter for a while, and it's got a Kickstarter going on right now until May 30th, 2025. The basic premise of the game is that it's set in like Edo period Japan, and portal opens up and they get invaded by robots from another dimension. I love this kind of anime nonsense in video games. The main character is Oboro, a cute rabbit girl ninja who fights with the katana like she learned from Virgil. Her backstory is that she's the sole survivor of a ninja clan. And according to the developer, her being a bunny girl is actually something relevant to the plot. So I'd be interested to see where the developer was going to take that story. Now, while the plot is fighting robots from another dimension with the katana, the proposed story would have an emotional core of a sibling-like relationship between Oboro and an orphan boy she finds and takes care of. So while we don't have any real details about the story, the context for why he was orphaned and all that, I'm getting kind of some Kiryu Haruka vibes, and I'm always down for those kind of relationships in games. And the developer also wants to include side quests that sound a lot like sub-stories from the Yakuza and Like a Dragon games. The specific example he gave about helping an old man see fireworks. Really, this game sounds like a Dragon Ishin, except you're fighting interdimensional robots. Video games are awesome. Now, the gameplay, as I mentioned before, is mainly inspired by Metal Gear Rising, including the slashing mechanics where you can cut basically anything up. You can slash up the enemies, you can slash up trees, you can slash up rocks, you can slash up stone. The developer even included watermelon that you can slice up.
But if you close your eyes,
and while Metal Gear Rising is the most obvious example, there are other games that it clearly takes some influence from that I noticed while I was playing the demo. There's some Sekiro inspirations, especially when it comes to parrying and the grappling ability that Oboro has. I definitely got some vibes of Ghost of Tsushima, especially when you're wandering around in a big area and you get pointed to your objectives with the wind. In the demo, you can press a button and the wind will blow in the direction of your objective. And there's definitely a little bit of Devil May Cry inspiration, especially from our certain blue-coated boy. In fact, one of the outfit designs that are on the Kickstarter is awfully similar to Dante's coat. And the dev even makes a little joke about it looking good in blue. The other weapons proposed by the dev also feel kind of off the wall, like the different weapons you'd see in Devil May Cry. I can definitely feel the DMC inspirations in weapon concepts like a nunchuck gourd or a metal umbrella. Combat has your basics. You've got your regular attacks, your heavy attacks, dodging, your blocking. And if you block at just the right time, you get what's called a just guard. This will build up your tension gauge, which allows you to do some extra moves on enemies, and up to and including yanking them just off their feet so you can slash them up, as well as finishing off an enemy by being able to slash it up and kick it into another enemy. You can also stagger enemies by doing just guards. Even on bosses, it'll take more than one to do that. But doing that opens them up to being attacked and lets you do a good chunk of damage on them. Just dodges are very similar. If you dodge at just the right time as you're being attacked, it'll let you get in a big attack in. Though I find just dodges harder to pull off, so I don't really do them as much. You can yank up practically anything around you, from the trees to rocks. Yanking objects with the grapple lets you slice them up and kick them into enemies. But this actually requires timing, and you can in fact mess that up, and the object you wanted to slice will fly past you. It happens to me all the time in the demo. Oboro is capable of kicking literally everything, including huge rocks and giant robots. She's got some strong legs. And as you defeat enemies, you build up a meter that lets you pull off a special attack that obliterates everything on screen, Virgil style, or do a hefty amount of damage to bosses. I can definitely see where inspirations for stuff like Sekiro came from, having played Sekiro. The action is pretty fast-paced, though while I make some comparisons to Sekiro, it is nowhere near as punishing as a FromSoft game. Not to say that even what I've played is a cakewalk, you can still die if you're not careful. There's also some light stealth, and by that I mean you can crouch and hide in tall grass and sneak up on enemies for a stealth attack. It's not really expansive, but as an enjoyer of stealth games, I like having the option there, and I'd expect there to be more fleshed out mechanics in a full release. But the combat is really fun. Now, what we have here is pretty unpolished, but even in its unpolished and rough state that I've played in the demo, it's still fun. The fundamentals are all there. It just needs to be polished. And that's not even getting into other things that the developer has talked about wanting to do, like including other weapons and variants of the weapons. In the demo, the only other kind of weapon that you find is picked up in one of the houses, and it alters your heavy attack to be a foot-based attack. Other than that, you just have the katana. Now, of course, the most important thing is the basic gameplay. And the basic gameplay is fun, and that's what's most important in a game. It also helps that the game has an absolute banger battle theme. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the demo specifically. The demo itself is very simple. It just kind of plops you in and says, have at it. Now, there is a manual in both English and Japanese included in the folder that you download for the demo. The demo is available to download on the Steam page for the game, and you can also download it individually on the Kickstarter page, which is how I got it, since the developer posted it there first to get the demo out to people without having to wait for it to be approved on Steam. The developer wanted to get the demo out quickly, and I'm really glad he did, because being able to sit down and play the game really sells it. Because you hear about the Kickstarter and you might be thinking, well, I mean, we see videos, but videos can be curated. Videos can be like set up with smokes and mirrors. When you get to sit down and play the game and you get to say, no, this is actually a playable game, it inspires some confidence. The goal of the demo is to beat several bosses spread across a big forest. There's no map to check, but as I mentioned before, the wind will point you to your objectives, which, in the demo, are the different bosses. Each of these bosses is a little different in how they attack you. They each have different attack patterns, and there's one type that can actually fire like missiles at you. I'd say each of them are fun to play. The weakest one in the demo is definitely the spider mech boss. It's simultaneously easier than the others, but a little harder to do because you need to kick pieces of its leg into it to defeat it. But the legs you need to target can be a bit hard to hone in on with how abrupt they tend to move. Now, this demo is basically like an alpha. It is the basic gameplay and then a bunch of enemies and a map. I expect this boss will be fleshed out as development goes on. It's not bad. It's just when you see a gigantic spider, you'd probably expect it to be a little bit more intimidating. It's just my honest assessment of the spider mech. It's not like super impressive, but it's not like horrendously bad. But overall, I would say the bosses are pretty solid and fun to play. And I have gotten my butt handed to me at times when I wasn't being careful or I was trying to be a little too fancy. Now, throughout the map, there are these little houses scattered around, and each of them have a little irori, or a little hearth, in it that you can sit by and you can rest, and it'll automatically heal you and then fill up the healing items that you have. You can hold 5 healing items at a time, and they all refill every time you go into one of these and rest. In the demo, it'll also set your respawn point to that particular house. In the demo, whenever you die, the map shifts through the seasons. Mostly it's a superficial change, but in the fall season, there are fruits that can fall off the trees that you can kick. The main game is supposed to go through the seasons during the story, but the demo just kind of gives you a basic idea of that every time you die and respawn. Now, another layer to the game is it actually has a simple level up system. It's kind of basic. Okay, you can level up your health, your attack, make guards a little easier, and the increased amount of time you have for slash mode. Now, the developer has specifically said that this is just a prototype. It's not how it's exactly going to appear in a full release as he envisioned it. But it is fun when you're playing the demo that you can level the skills up and you can make some harder fights a little easier by bumping up the stats. Overall, I think Tonin has a lot of potential and I'm really excited for it. And I really want to see it at some point get a full release. Even at this point, the fundamentals are there, the basic gameplay is there, and I really want to see this developer get the support he deserves in order to release this game. If any of this sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend going and checking out the Kickstarter and supporting it. Now, if you're watching this video after the Kickstarter ends, I'll post an update as a pinned comment to say, oh, well, this is what's going on, this is how you can support the dev. yada yada yada, stuff like that. I highly recommend checking out the Kickstarter and giving the devs some support, because I really think this game has potential. So that's all I really wanted to talk about in this video. Thank you for watching.